Hey, so that's a tough one. Rashad, why don't you go ahead? That's a tough
All
one.
right.
If the doctor's on board, that would be great.
Welcome. Tell
Hi,
us a little bit about this
thank
case.
you. E-dentures patient, she has conventional dentures and really tired of having to put Fixodent and everything to have them in place. She has a neighbor who has implant-supported dentures and the neighbor loves it and now she wants them too. Very simple, like in the sense, she just came in specifically asking for implant-supported dentures.
Okay, great, great. So that's pretty young patient. You're looking at placing 4 implants, 8 implants total, 4 maxilla and 4 in the mandible. And doctor, share with us, and it's not a test. How do you come up with these numbers or a decision how many implants to place? Where are you coming from? Just so I can fine tune my answer. And it's not a test. We're here in the family. It's not a test. Some people say I need 8 implants in the maxilla and I need at least 5 in the mandible.
Right.
We're talking about 2 removable appliances. Go ahead.
Right. I mean, I know that usually maxilla requires more because of the density of the bone and the stability of the implants. But I really didn't think where I came up with the number. She actually had a consult with another dentist and they sent over the records and they also had the same number of implants in mind. Also, I had taken a very small overdenture course, I think 2 years back, and then just gathered my thoughts from there. But
beautiful.
Yeah, there's no really like not a specific answer for that.
Okay. I'm very satisfied with what you're saying because there are so many different opinions, but let's keep an open mind. Sometimes we want to over-engineer, right? Over-engineer. Let's say we place 4, not all 4 worked. We have 3 left. We can still work with them. For example, that's one concept. The other concept that I favor more is, okay, let's plan to what's we feel is ideal. Let's be more, strategic. So for example, if you're talking about the mandible and the maxilla are 2 different animals. I know we're going to treat both here, but they're completely different in terms of the anatomy, the quality of the bone, the mechanics, the curvature, the need for lip support, obviously. So let's start with the mandible. You can be quite all right and quite, give a very acceptable solution by placing 2 implants in the mandible in an overdenture. It can be just a little clip where the denture attaches to. You connect the 2 implants with a bar, depending on how much interocclusal space you have, which is another thing we should probably tackle today. And that's usually enough. Now, for a lot of cases that I've treated in the past, if you have 5 implants in the mandible, that's the difference between a removable solution and a fixed solution. And I'm not saying this patient needs a fixed solution here, but all I'm saying is if you place 5 implants in between the foramina, between the mental foramina, you can sometimes or often you can cantilever at least half a molar and you can get a fixed solution. So you see there's a range between 2 and 5, and it's a completely different prosthetic solution. So right. How do we choose? I would analyze the CT scan slice by slice. I mean, to be honest, I could not go over your whole CT scan and review all the exact sections, but that's what we should do. We should go, this is the CT scan of the patient. You can see the outline of the inferior alveolar nerve, and you can see the mental foramen right here. So I would go slice by slice, and I would identify potential implant locations. For example, I would start with the critical ones with the canine.
5 minutes.
Thank you. With the canines, I would look at the central incisors. By the way, a common mistake that I see is doctors placing 3 implants while there's no difference, the third implant actually doesn't make any difference restoratively to the patient. They just over-engineer, but it doesn't really make a big difference. So were you thinking more ball attachments? Were you thinking more to connect two implants with a bar and have a clip-on the denture? We're talking just about the mandible.
I had ball attachments in mind.
Okay. Okay, so ball attachments, and Rashad can elaborate a little bit more restoratively. Ball attachments, well, the more implants you have, the more retention you can have. You know, those female parts of the attachment they wear, they need to be replaced in the denture. So if I were you, I would identify the good implant sites so we can spread them out conveniently and see if we can get an implant distal to the foramina. You shared with me a couple of those sites. I think the way you spread the mandibular implants is great. If it can be done safely without getting close to the nerve, I think we're good there.
Okay.
Now the other question that is critical is the condition of the soft tissue. A lot of the patients, I don't have a clinical photo, but a lot of the patients that have been wearing dentures for a long time, the ridges are just messed up from a soft tissue perspective. Do you recall the tissue quality? Do you have enough keratinized tissue around the implant?
She does, definitely.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yes.
So if you'd like, you can share, not for this session, but you can share some clinical photos. Just snap a couple of photos from the buccal and maybe retract it, so I can guide you about the incision outline, because the incision and the flap takes a little bit of time. And then we have some videos that show cases that I've done, that Rashad has done, showing the whole procedure, so you can prepare yourself. Is it okay if I move and give you a little bit of input on the maxilla?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Any questions about the mandible?
No, not anymore.
Great. I think for ball attachment, I think this is fine. If you decided to do like a bar and an attachment over a bar, then that specific spread of implants is not conducive to that. They need to be a little bit closer, the more in the front. Okay.
Makes sense. Okay.
Now, maxilla is a different animal. What does it mean? It means that the quality is very poor, and you can see it from some of the cross sections that you shared with us. You see, here are some cross sections on the upper left-hand side. This is actually an axial view, but in the cross section, you can see the shape of the maxilla is not always even, but I feel like you have some good thickness in certain spots. This is still the mandible. And as you get into the anterior maxilla, you see that there is a certain very typical shape of the maxilla. There's a little lip and right in here. So the way you plan them is correct. You plan them more where the bone is. I would actually place them a little bit more palatal, just to be safe, because you want to anchor it, even close to the cortical bone in here, because you need stability. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, 4 implants are great, and what works better in the maxilla, as long as you have interocclusal space, is to create a superstructure, and the superstructure connects those 4 implants, and then you can create an overdenture that you can remove the palate from. So it's going to be a palateless denture, plus it will have lip support, it will have a flange, and that's, to me, the ideal prosthesis that gives function, that is more comfortable compared to a full denture, plus gives the lip support so many patients need, because you don't want to create an implant reconstruction and the patient looks like an old person that this is caved in. So yeah, so I like the plan. And then how are you planning to place those implants? What method and what experience, what implants have you placed in the past?
So I've done Zimmer and Implant Direct. Yeah, those are the 2 implants. So right now we are going to do Implant Direct in this case.
Right.
and
It's
surgical
basically
guide.
Zimmer, which is basically Zimmer,
Yes,
right?
yes, Zimmer. Yes, yes, exactly.
It's the same factory. Here in
Right. It's the same.
Calabasas,
It's the
close
same.
to where I live. Yeah, it's the same factory.
Yeah.
Okay,
So, I mean,
cool.
what did you mean by suprastructure on the implants?
So superstructure is instead of the ball attachments for the mandible, is to create actual a titanium, titanium made structure that gets screw retained to the implants, and the denture goes on top of that. And the requirement would be space and cost.
10 minutes
because
up.
it'd be more costly. Rashad, any comments
sense.
in regards to that?
That's great.
Gotcha.
Research superstructure. Basically, it's a metal bar that connects the implants, and it's something you do with your lab. And the key is it allows you to cut out the palate so that you can, they can taste and feel temperature. So that's a great value. Just make sure that you factor that into your pricing so that you don't undercharge here and end up losing money on the case.
Right.
Dr. Chandan, your initial question here, was it where you should place those implants, upper and lower? Is that why you sort of submitted this case, or you just wanted just a second opinion on it? What's the Mhm.
It was more about the second opinion. I think what Dr. Ziv just went over, the angulation as well as the placement and then the whole planning. I mean, yes, I think just a more summary of it.
Excellent. Ziv and Dr. Chandan, when we place implants, Ziv, behind the mental and in front of the mental, and they're all connected with a denture, is that okay? I mean, doesn't the mandible flex? Shouldn't we keep them all between the mental if we're connected? Is that a factor that we should consider or not?
There is mandibular flexure, that's true. And that flexure creates bone growth, believe it or not, in the posterior. Yeah, I mean, I go as a priority, I go by where is the safest place to place implants. I mean, this is a pretty atrophic mandible in certain spots. You can see it here. So I go just by safety and bone and where the what type of restoration will be connected to it. Personally, I don't consider the flexure, and honestly, it's not it's not something that I spend much time reviewing. I
Okay.
focus more on the foundation.
Okay.
But
Usually
I
when
think
I do
the plan is solid here, Rashad.
solid, even if there's implants behind the mental and they're all going to be connected with a denture. I just want to bring that up in case it's an issue. I need to research it more, but I've been told, I remember from dental school, you don't want to link the posterior and the mandible to the anterior, because when the patient opens their mouth, there's a certain level of shift. And if there's any doctors on here that know more about that, please chime in.
Yeah, it's not the posterior. You're placing implants basically in the premolar location. It's still anterior.
Okay.
So I feel like we're safe. It's usually comes down to a safety, nerve safety and enough bone to work around the case.
Okay,
so
cool.
I have done multiple overdenture cases for the mandible, but this will be my first time restoring an edentulous maxilla. That's why I was kind of curious what you guys think about the placement of the implants in the maxilla.
Yeah.
You just told me to go more palatal. Is that what you said?
Yeah, more palatal, and the ideal locations for an overdentures are the canines and the premolars. And then you connect all four and you create your superstructure. The ball attachments don't work that great for the maxilla for some reason. I mean, in the mandible, patients are happy if it's a little bit better than before. In the maxilla, we want to create our flange. You want to create the lip support. The thing is bulky. So a superstructure, I feel like is, to me is a standard. And, the thing is very hard to remove. I mean, it's, you got to look at your patients, is it a fragile old lady or somebody who has like still strength to take it in and out? But the result that you're getting is, to me, is ideal. But make sure that you have enough interocclusal space. If you don't have enough, then you can't stack those components one on top of the other.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're
Great
welcome.
case. Thank you for sharing it.